Okay, Dabo Swinney's our great friend and guest today. And just right off the bat, Dabo, I'm going to go back to 1997. We're over there at Terrence Edwards High School, me, you, Jimbo Fisher. And that's the first time I ever met you. And I told our coaches that you were a pain in my ass recruiting this because I had his brother here, but you almost talked him into going there. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember. Yeah, but I knew I was in trouble when you were the guest speaker at the banquet and I was sitting out in the crowd. So.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an edge, and we had his mother on her side, but it was a good start there for to get the relationship, and we kept up over the years. And I got to watch you coach some when I was doing some games there with ESPN over there at Clemson. And the one thing that really stuck in my mind when I was out there with Terry Don Phillips and talking to him was the way all the players seemed to just gravitate to you as an assistant coach, even though you were the coach and receiver. You just seemed to have that kind of it factor with the players. I think that really helped you get into that place where you could get the head job there, don't you?
Oh yeah. In fact, that's what I tell coaches all the time when I go speak and stuff. I always tell coaches at clinics and things is, man, just be great at whatever it is you're doing. Just bloom where you planted. And I think so many coaches get so caught up in the next job and they're looking ahead or whatever title or whatever it is, and they don't do a great job of whatever it is they're doing. And that was a lesson to me, because when, I'd been here almost 6 years when all of a sudden in the middle of the season, I get the interim head coach. And so the AD said, "Hey, you're the head coach. I need to see you in my office." And when I went down there to meet with Terry Don, he told me just what you said. He started telling me all the reasons why he wanted me to be the interim head coach. And, he said, "Listen, I've watched you for the last 5.5 years, how you handle your players, how you recruit, how you are with your family, how you handle yourself in the community, players, relationships, and those type of things." And that really resonated with me. And I try to use that to teach other coaches is, listen, if you just do a great job of what you're doing, people are going to take notice of that. And now you got to prepare. You got to be prepared for your opportunity as well. And so, there's no doubt if I had not had the opportunity to be here for those 5.5 years as an assistant and an opportunity to be the interim, I wouldn't have got this job. So, definitely right time, right place.
That's for sure. And one of the things that I've been impressed with when you talk about community involvement, I've read about your foundation, and a lot of times, you don't get a chance to talk about that. But in this kind of venue where I'm in charge, I want you to talk about it just so the people out there that aren't necessarily Clemson people, but people around the country can hear what you're doing for so many people there in South Carolina and around the country.
Yeah, it's something that Kath and I, my wife Kath, we're passionate about. We literally started the foundation the first year I got the job because it was, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I had I was like a 1-year guy. Man, they could have got rid of me for a U-Haul and a week's worth of dinner, and so. But Kath and I sat down because we just felt overwhelmingly blessed to have this opportunity in the platform. And one of the things we talked about was, okay, I mean, I may be here a year, 2 years, who knows, but we wanted to make sure that whenever our time was up here, that it was more than just football and what we did on a scoreboard in Death Valley. That was very important to us. And so we sat down and I remember we sat around a table with a guy that was going to help us. And we're like, okay, what's important to us? Like what's impacted our life? And for my wife, it's been breast cancer. Her sister passed away, 49 years old, left an 8th grader and a senior in high school behind. And we went through that process with her and her cousin and other friends that we've had. My wife had a double mastectomy when she was 35 years of age, and she carries the breast cancer gene. And so she feels like she's still here today because of all the research that came before her. and that her sister didn't have some of the knowledge and opportunities that my wife had. So that was an area. And then I grew up in a home of addiction. And, a lot of people talk about the person with the addiction, but very few people talk about the kids that are living in that situation. And so we partnered up with the Family Effect in Greenville, and they're a wonderful organization that deal in addiction in the home. The number one reason for family collapse is there's an addiction in the home. And so we that's something that's a focus area for us. And then education was huge to me. First college graduate of my family, baby of 3 boys. Nobody in my family been to college, graduated from college. And that was a big deal when I got a chance to graduate from college. I mean, that was my family tree grew another trunk and went in a different direction because of what happened in 1993 when I walked across that stage and got my degree. I separated myself and I created opportunity for my future family and so forth, and it even put my older brother back through college later on in life. And I wanted all my players and I wanted to help other people from an education standpoint. And so we partnered with the Call Me Mr. program. And the Call Me Mr. program, 12 years ago, not many people knew about it, but it's a program. The statistics show that if one African-American male has at least one Black male elementary teacher, they're more than 3 times likely to go into secondary ed. And so that was something I was like, you know what, that's real. That's real impactful and real difference. And so Clemson recruits these kids from these lower income areas. They come to Clemson, they get their education degrees, and they become Mr. Donnan, Mr. Swinney, and they go back in their communities and they're elementary school teachers. And so that's been going on. And now that program is in other colleges. So that's something we wanted to support. And then Kath and I both spending 7 years with Coach Stallings in Tuscaloosa, we were both so impacted with Coach Stallings and how he was so passionate about people with special needs. My wife's brother was born without a hand. He's lived his whole life. He's got one hand. And, he had a lot of challenges coming up in life. And then John Mark, Coach Stallings' son, Down syndrome, and seeing him at practice every day and the impact that he had on our team and how Coach was, that impacted me as a young person. And so we have this program at Clemson called Clemson Life, and it stands for Learning is for Everyone. And they recruit all these special needs students that qualify, and they come here, they live on their own, they get their education. I've got 3 of them that work here for us in the building. And so that's something that we partnered with. So that's kind of been a focus area. And then we wanted to have a grant program where any organization around here could apply for money as long as they were within the mission. The mission of the foundation is critical health and education needs. And so I think last year alone, just through the grant program, I think we had 200 something organizations apply, and we were able to give a little over $800,000 away just to the grants. And, this year we'll give away another probably 1.2 million or so. And it's just a blessing. So, and that's the other thing, you hear a lot about foundations and things. Because legally, I think you only got to give away like 10% of the money you take in to be a nonprofit or a foundation. And that, I couldn't believe that when I learned that. And so, man, we've been volunteer forever. And then about 3 years ago, we hired our first full-time employee, a sweet little gal, and she was an intern with us for a couple of years. And so we got 1 employee, and I mean, all the money that comes in here outside of that one little expense, it all goes right back to the purpose that it was created for. And it's been a blessing. I mean, our first event, we raised $90,000, and we were so excited in the spring of 2010. I was like, man, we raised $90,000. And this past year, we raised well over $1 million in a 3-hour period. And it's been great. And the people have come to depend on us. I mean, they really do. They depend on us to come through for them every single year. And so we're passionate about it. We call our all in ball in the spring. We have a ladies clinic We usually have about 3,000 women come in for the ladies clinic, and those are two big fundraisers for us. And then people, they just give all year, whether it be in lieu of flowers or tax receipts, tax purposes, whatever. So it's been a blessing to be able to use the platform of Clemson football and the platform of being a football coach to help other people. And a lot of people I'll never meet, but I know one day, that has eternal lasting value.
No question about it. And you did a very good job of explaining it. I didn't realize it went into that many different categories, but certainly just really outstanding that the people around you have responded to and worked with you. But another point that I wanted to make is staff solidarity. 39-3 the last 3 years that your team, but there's a lot of chances for coaches to move on. And certainly Coach Scott took to South Florida, but you've been able to keep your coaches pretty much intact there, particularly the top guys. And it's just been something you might share with some of the fans out there about how you feel about that and what pick for the Clemson Tigers and Dabo keep these guys.
Well, first of all, we have a great administration that's supported me in being able to, create an environment, build an infrastructure, create staff security. As you know, in this business, there's not much security. And that was the first thing I did when I got the job back in 2009 is I got everybody a 2-year contract. In those days, very few people had 2-year contracts. They were all up March 1. And that was very important to me. And it was right out of the gate in 2009. I was like, listen, I want to create some sense of security. And then over the years, we've grown and we became competitive, obviously, with our staff as we've had success. But it's just, we really like each other. I mean, I say that we love each other. We may not always like each other, but we love each other. and we've got, just great chemistry. Everybody is behind the philosophy of the program. It's my responsibility to articulate the vision and the philosophy and to put all the pieces together. But we have an alignment here that's hard to capture in this profession, where everybody truly it believes in the mission and the philosophy of this program and what we're trying to do and what we're about. And it's a great place to work. I mean, when this is your job, when this is your profession, the simplicity and the quality of life that we have at Clemson is unique. It's very unique. I mean, I'm 7 minutes to my house, and so is everybody else. Everything in Clemson is 5 minutes. And it's a very close knit family atmosphere here. And we built that very intentionally. And, I think from a coaching standpoint, there's really nothing you can't do here. I mean, we've proven that, you can raise your family here. It's an incredible environment to raise your family. We've got wonderful schools here. We can win at the highest level. We can recruit at the highest level. So, financially, we can compete, when it comes from a staffing standpoint. So all of those things have helped. But I think at the end of the day, it's the culture that we've established. People are happy. And it's hard to fabricate that. And so, and I get excited if a guy gets the opportunity, because I've kind of, as a coach, you kind of have a depth chart, you got a depth chart with your players, but you got a depth chart with your staff too, and kind of, future staff and so forth. And, I've got some guys waiting in the wings that they're like, man, anybody gonna ever leave there? So, but I've had a couple, Tony and Brent in particular, they've both had some incredible head coach opportunities, but it hasn't been the right thing for them. And, maybe one day that comes along and it's the right job at the right time. Because the one advice that I've always given them is, don't just take a job to take a job. The objective, when I got the job here, I was 39, and everybody's talking about, oh man, I'm a young head coach. I was 38 as an interim. And I said, that's great, but my goal is to be an old head coach. And so, That's kind of what I tell these guys to, make sure that it's going to check all the boxes for you. And again, they've been afforded the opportunity to be patient, and they're happy. They're happy here. And so, that's been a blessing to have that type of continuity, but it's also been fun when we've had a little change here. They're like, this year I was able to hire CJ Spiller to be my running backs coach. Here's a kid I recruited in 2005 and 6, and he's gone on and graduated and lived his life and, played 9 years, and now he's back coaching running backs at Clemson. That's a really, really cool thing for me, to have the opportunity to do.
All right, Dayne, I told you I was going to let you ask one question today, so ask him. Don't make it too hard on the old coach.
Got you on a quota.
Dabo, I think when fan bases look at Clemson, they're most jealous of the fact that Clemson's had a couple of quarterbacks of a lifetime, but 2 within a decade. When you look at the Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, if all prognosticators are right, DJ Uiagalelei has the path to be that next person. What's the secret sauce for Clemson and quarterbacks?
Good evaluation, good evaluation, good development. I mean, there's been a lot of great, highly recruited quarterbacks sign all over the country, but, development is the huge part of it. And we evaluated Deshaun Watson early. I knew Deshaun Watson it started. I had Kyle Parker kind of kick it off for us, and then Taj Boyd, and he was a great player for me. Left here as the winningest quarterback in school history, and then Deshaun I met in 8th grade, and he came to camp early, evaluated him early, and then he committed to me in the 10th grade, and knew what he wanted to do, and right there from Gainesville, Georgia, so it's not just identifying the talent. That's part of it, but then it's development, and then putting the right things around them. And so obviously Deshaun was special, and then he passed the torch to Trevor. First met Trevor in the 9th grade, and offered him after his 10th grade year, and then he committed December of his junior year. So we evaluated the right guys early. We don't offer many guys, first of all. I think we got like 60 something offers in this class, and some of our main competitors probably have around 200. So we're very, very slow in the process, and we do our due diligence because we've done it through the draft. I mean, I've not taken transfers in 12 years here. It's been all through high school kids, every bit of it. Grady Jarrett, he's a 2-star from Rockdale, Georgia there. And I think he's the 37th highest paid athlete in the world right now with the Falcons, D tackle, 2-star. I think we beat the University of Buffalo to get that guy. And he, if I could start my program all over again, I guarantee you a couple of the guys that would be up there at the top would be a guy like Grady Jarrett and a walk-on named Hunter Renfro, 155-pound walk-on. So evaluation has been a real key for us at every position. But if you don't have the right stuff at quarterback, and I think there's a lot of guys that have the right stuff from a measurable standpoint, but it's the immeasurables, it's the intangibles that win at the highest level at that position. And it's the love of preparation, it's the football IQ, it's the toughness, it's the poise, it's the demeanor, it's the consistency day in and day out. And Trevor came in here and he was unbelievable. And DJ, same thing. DJ came all the way, and that just shows you his mentality, because he probably could have started at 125 schools last year, but he wanted to come here and he wanted to learn. He wanted to see Trevor, and he wanted to be in that room with him. And I think that shows you the self-awareness of DJ and how he thinks from a long-term perspective. So he's been special. Streeter's done a phenomenal job, coaching those guys. I think our culture has done a great job of helping, prepare them for that position and all that comes with that position, because it's different. And so all of that stuff counts. But, I think, like I said, we've just been able to identify, evaluate, and develop at a really high and consistent level at that position. And I think DJ, he's on his way.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, we just wanted to ask you just a couple questions about this year because I know your schedule's tight here. But looking at your own team first, what do you feel like some of your concerns are going into the season about your Clemson Tiger team?
Well, I think the first thing is our backup quarterback. That's Tyson Pumachan tore his Achilles in the spring. And the good news is he's practicing, every day. He's doing all the Skelly, all the team stuff, Indy. We're not letting him be live yet, but he's going to be back sooner than later. And I'm really excited because I thought he was going to be out for the year when this first happened, but he looks great. But, it's who's that backup in the immediate? Who is it? We got a couple kids. We got Hunter Helms and Billy Wiles, and we got this kid beside named Will Taylor. So getting the backup, whoever that is, ready to be able to go in to win for us, because we're one rolled ankle away from him having to go. So that's probably the biggest thing for me. And then the second thing is we're so much better in the offensive line this year than we were last year. Last year we really had 6 guys that I thought we could win with. And this year, I think we've got a chance to have 9, 10, 11 guys. And so, getting that sorted out as far as who's the best 5, all right, who's 6, 7, 8, that we got a lot of work to do there this camp. But the good news is we got a lot of competition and some good pieces. And then probably the next thing for us is we got a lot of people back. We've got 20 guys who have started at least one game for us on defense returning. Got 7 starters up in front in the D line. But the one area that we're thin at is corner. We got 6 guys on scholarship. And so, just hoping that we can stay healthy at that position as we go throughout the season. That's probably the main thing.
Well, that's certainly, as a coach, there's always a lot of one good thing about it. You got a lot of guys that have played and won games for you. And, you say you don't use the transfer portal. I'm not going to get into that because we're winding down here, but just wanted to ask you your take on DK. He's here now. Just a couple quick quotes on him. You don't need it to take long, but, all the people out there want to know about what's your thoughts on him playing here at Georgia now.
Yeah, well, I love DK. He's a baller. There's just no doubt about that. DK loves to practice and he loves to play. But sometimes in a relationship, you need a change, you need a fresh start, and that's kind of where we were. And I'm happy for him. I hate we got to play him because he's a great player. But I'm happy that he's at a good place where he can hopefully finish up the right way, and hopefully he's grown through the process and can be the best version of himself this year. But he's a baller. Ain't no doubt about that.
What's your overall? I mean, you got to get your kids ready for the whole season, but what's your take going into this Georgia game, looking at the Georgia Bulldogs? I know you got a lot of respect for Kirby. And what's your take on at Georgia as you get ready to play them in the first game?
Well, they're a complete team, especially with a couple of the pieces that they were able to add, in this offseason. I mean, they're I don't know, maybe there's 4 or 5 teams that really have a chance to win it all and have the type of depth and type of things that you need, quarterback play, et cetera. And they're certainly one of them for sure. I mean, it's a heavyweight matchup right here, and they don't really have any weaknesses. I mean, the way this quarterback came on and performed last year, the backs they got, the OL, and guys in the defensive front, they've shored up their secondary. They did lose a great receiver, but you can just check all the recruiting rankings. They got plenty of players around there. So it's exciting though. I mean, I've always said Clemson and Georgia should play every year. It's crazy. We got to go all the way out to Texas A&M, play Texas A&M, or Georgia's got to go to play UCLA or Oklahoma, whoever, I mean, I think it's one of those guys. I kind of grew up watching the Clemson Georgia game. That was just one of those games you always watched. And, it's tough. It's a tough matchup because you got a high likelihood to get beat in games like this. But it's exciting because, there's an edge that comes with opening up with a game like this. Because we don't get as you know, and that's one of my frustrations with college football is, we don't get preseason games. You don't get a chance to figure it out. And like you do in the NFL, you get to play a couple games and evaluate and figure some things out. And so, I mean, you step in day one, this is a heavyweight. It's a top 5 matchup, maybe a top 3 matchup right out of the gate. And and as you know, Coach, it's the hardest game every year to me is the opener, regardless of who you play, because there is so much unknown in the opener. You got new people. You don't have any video evidence of anything. You're just going in the dark that things will be similar to last year. And you've had way more time to prepare for this one game than any other time in the year. So there's always unknowns. There's always that aspect. And then you throw in the fact that you got 2 really, really talented teams. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, ending up here, I know Dayne had one more question, but I just wanted to ask you, I read where you talked about the number of teams in the playoffs, and your own team to you keeping it down. So, I really made a good point on that. If you could just hit that real quick, and then we'll ask Dayne one more question, we'll be out.
Yeah, I mean, people always ask me the question, and my answer's been the same since the BCS. I was fine with the BCS. I thought the BCS got it right. I mean, it really wasn't. I just think college football's always been different. It's always been different, and going this route, which is where it's going to go, and so it doesn't really matter what I think. If it's fan driven, money driven, whatever. But I just always felt like college football was different. It was unique, and the unintended consequences when we went from the BCS to the 4-team playoff. Nobody was opting out when it was the BCS. Those bowl games were important. Finishing your season, all those type of things, and I think the more you do this, we just become like the NFL, or even the NBA. And football is not a tournament sport. First of all. This thing isn't built that way, and I think there's going to be more and more unintended consequences. I wouldn't be surprised if you see kids opting out of the playoffs if you go to 12. To be honest with you, and my big thing is now all of a sudden again teams you're undefeated, you're in the playoff, and you got this rivalry game at the end. Well, yeah, you want to win the rivalry game, but you really want to play Trevor Lawrence in that game. When you got the playoff next week and you're in it, like let's just like what you see in the NFL. They know it's all about the playoffs, and they know they're just like in basketball. Nobody watches regular season basketball. They watch the playoffs. And so, but if that's the model it's going to, I think there's going to be some changes. It ultimately will probably be some type of mega conference. I don't know, 40, 50 teams or something like that, 12, 14 team playoff. And whatever the rules are, we'll embrace them and go to work on them. But I just not a huge fan of it. And then some people will get mad and they'll go, yeah, well, you've been in the playoffs. And I always say, well, if we can get in with 4, we can get in with 12. So it's not going to decrease our odds. It just
makes a really good point there. It
makes us more of the same instead of different and unique. And I think college football has always been different. It's always been unique. And, that's just my opinion. I know I'm in the very small minority when it comes to that, but that's just what I think.
Make a good point there. Last question here, Dayne. I'm going to let you have it here and let Coach get back to doing his job here. But go ahead, Dayne.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak 2 in here real quick. So one, we know Justyn Ross and what he does on the field. I want to know the emotional lift of him being medically cleared to play just for your team and the culture of it. But then I also want to know just about your friendship and relationship with Coach Donnan.
Yeah, well, it was amazing when Justyn was cleared. I mean, just, because these guys have watched him for 18 months. And everybody knows what his potential is, and the injury was so. It's not like the guy tore his ACL or broke a bone, and you can kind of see it. This was something that nobody could see, and yet he looked so normal. I mean, everything looked normal with him. But it's really a blessing that we had that situation occur, and we found out this situation that he had since birth. And these doctors, unbelievable, but Justyn has really grinded for 18 months to get back, and they watched him, all year, and really not knowing, 50-50 at best going into this. And so when he was cleared, it was a big, big thing, and everybody was happy for him. And, he's a great player, but it's more about just his opportunity to do something that he loves to do, and be a part of the team again in that aspect. So really proud of him. And then Coach Donnan, man, like he said, I first met him. It's a big deal. You get to meet a head coach, out on the road recruiting. And, I was kind of the Lone Ranger over there going against Mickey Matthews and Jim Donnan and Rodney Garner and that whole crowd. I'm over there. They ganging up on me in Sandersville, Georgia. But I got a couple of them out of there, but I'm not sure they wanted them, but I got a couple of them. But they got that's where I first met him. Of course, followed him his career, an unbelievable career. But I still remember that banquet that we had over there that night at Washington County High School, and he was the speaker, and I'm out there by myself. I'm saying, well, I'm probably against it here, but just have always respected him. And then we have some mutual friends as well, some friends that I've met. He plays tennis with, and then obviously again have just kept up with him his whole career. And he just went through a loss in his life, and Coach, thinking about you in that, and I hope you're doing well. But Coach Donnan represents a lot of great things. There's been a lot of lives touched through the platform of football, and I hope one day that I can be retired and have good relationships with my former players, and still be able to go play some tennis and some golf like Coach Donnan can.
Yeah, well, hey, we really appreciate you being with us, Dabo. I know that you're doing me a favor to have this opportunity to be out here, but the main thing is I wanted people to know a little bit more about some other things that you're involved with, and it's going to be a good platform for that. And wish you well. I mean, it's hard for us to say on this thing. We're pulling for you in that first game, but the whole season we'll be watching you. And one thing I always respect about you is when I send you something about a player or text or anything, you always answer me. But I try not to get on your nerves about it, but I appreciate that too.
I appreciate it. And yeah, listen, this will be a great game, and it's two great teams. And obviously we want to win, they want to win. And but this is what college football is all about. And guess what? There'll be a game the next week, and whether you're 1-0 or 0-1, that one's going to matter too in college football. So this will be a hopefully an awesome crowd and an awesome environment to kind of kick this thing off for both teams.
All right, that's it for today for UGA Sports, and we'll call it a day here.